In this video, we will be developing an end-to-end full-stack tutorial using ReactJS and Node.js. So let's go ahead and get started. But before we start writing some code, we have two packages that we need to install. The first one is Express, and the second one is Cores. Express is a minimal and flexible Node.js web application framework that provides a set of features that allows us to develop web and mobile application. What Cores is, it allows another application to gain access into the API that we're developing. With that said, now let's go ahead and start writing some code. Well, first we have to install these packages. So npm install -save express and Cores. This is going to be a little bit quicker for me just because I've pre-installed these prior to recording the video. Okay, so now let's go ahead and start writing some code. Const express equals require express. Const cores equals require cores. And now we have some middleware we have to build. Const app equals express, and this is calling the express package, and app.use cores, which is creating the cores middleware. From here, let's go ahead and create our first route, app.get, and we'll name it API JSON. And this has two parameters that it needs, a request and a response. From here, let's send off some data to the server. So we'll res.json, we'll call that function, and we will pass in a data object with a string of, this is our first API call. From here, we need to tell our application what port to listen on. So we'll say const port equals 8080. So let's say 8000. And now we need to tell our application to listen on that port. So it is app.listen on port 8000, and we'll call a function, and we'll just pass through console log saying listening on port. And this is utilizing some ES6 syntax. From here, let's go ahead and save it, and we'll go ahead and run it and check to see how it looks in the web browser. So cool, so it's saying listening on port 8000. Now if we go to the web browser, Google Chrome, and refresh, you can see here that we are sending, this is our first API call to the server. So that's great. So this is good. This is working. Now let's go ahead and start working on the front end. On the front end, and we'll also keep in mind we're going to keep this running here because we're going to be needing that. Let's go ahead and switch tabs. And on the front end, we're going to need one package after we create the React application. But to create the React application, you do npx create React app, and then whatever you want to call it. I'm going to go ahead and call mine front end. You're going to go ahead and press enter, but I'm not going to do that just because I've also pre-installed this prior to the video to save a little bit of some time. So once you do that, you're going to do npm install -save, and we're going to be using the Axios package. What the Axios package is it allows us to call data from the server. While that's good, installing, let's go ahead and go to the app, which is sitting inside the source folder, inside the front end React app that we have created. Inside of here, you can see that there's some dummy template data that we don't really necessarily need. So let's go ahead and we can delete the logo, SVG file, we don't need that. We don't really need this, but let's go ahead and delete everything inside of the div. Cool. So this is the most basic template right here, and we'll go ahead and pass in h1, say hello world. We'll save that, and then in here we're going to start this. So npm start, and this is going to go ahead and refresh, and you can see here that hello world. All right, so now that we have the basic React application up and running. Let's go back to the code. Inside of here, we're going to need two properties out of React. One is called useState, and the other one is called useEffect. useEffect is a function that gets called right before the application renders, and then useState allows us to save the data that we're bringing in from the server. So first, let's initialize useState. Const data, and then set data equals useState. And we'll pass in a string. I know it's an object being passed through, but data is a string, and we're going to display data inside of an H1 tag. So from here, now let's create the useEffect function. Inside of here, we're going to create another function called call4data, and you'll see why shortly. And then we'll immediately call this afterwards. The reason why we need to do this is because we're going to be using async and await, and we can't put async on a useEffect function. So in here, we're going to say const response, and then from here, we're going to utilize the Axios library that we installed. So we're going to await the call, the server call, and say axios.get API/JSON. And then we also have to import Axios from Axios. Cool, so while now this part is done, so now let's just console.log response. And we'll go ahead and save this. And the cool part about React is it hot refreshes, so you don't need to close the server. You can just press save and it will automatically refresh for you. So let's go ahead and go into Google Chrome and we'll check the console. Interesting. It says 404 not found. So this usually happens because this is sitting on server localhost 8000 that we created previously, as you can see here, listening on port 8000. Right now, this is thinking it's sitting on localhost 3000 and it cannot find this. So we need to create a proxy that will look for the localhost 8000, and we will do that in the package.json, and we will create a proxy we'll do it up here. Proxy 8000. Now, once we do that, and we go ahead and refresh, sorry, I have to close this server and restart it. 1 second. Now you will see here that we have the response, and you can see here that inside of data, we have this is our first API call. So now let's go ahead and wrap up the application and display that. So we're going to utilize the useState, and we'll do set data, and we'll say response.data.data. And right now, this should say this is our first API call. Now, to be able to use the variable with that data, we will go inside of here, press save, and go back to the browser. And you can see here, this is our first API call. And that is going to end today's tutorials on the basics of a full stack web application. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us for any questions. Obviously, we're here to help you guys and ladies. Anything that you need, feel free. Just go ahead and follow any of our social media accounts, and not only will we be able to answer your questions, you can get more updates on acco.dev. In the meantime, console log out. Peace.